Off today, just doing some errands. I have Yeva today. We are just coming back from the vet. I had to get her distemperment shot and Bortadella. I think it's called Bortadella. It's like a kennel cough vaccination if you board the dogs. So she needed to do that. And I was also seeing if she was pregnant, but she is not. So our breeder, his name is Arthur, fantastic human being, and his wife Tatiana. They breed little, I can't think of those right now, what are they called? Anyway, they breed these adorable little kittens, these cats that are like $2-3 grand a cat. I don't have any, but they do those cats. And then Arthur has been breeding German Shepherds for decades. My wife and his wife, we've gotten together, and he's very tough to get the laugh. You know, he's always so serious. He's got 20-something German Shepherds at any given time, so I understand why I guess you have to be serious. But he's always like, "What are you doing? What's going on over there at the veterinarian? What are they trying to sell you?" Because they're always trying to, you know, get lepto and what is it, the heartworm, and all these different things that they try to sell you on basis of fear, right? Of something happening to your beloved pet. So it's easy to spend the money, but he knows I trust him. A lot of times he'll be like, "You don't need this, you don't need that." But anyway, so when you're investing in the stock market, you kind of have that same fear with your money in the marketplace, where you're like, "Oh, what if something goes wrong?" And a lot of the stuff that I've been watching, to me, is validation of my mindset, and I've been saying that for the past few weeks. So whatever you're trading, again, not a day trader, swing trader, investor, stocks, options, cryptocurrency, real estate, and myself, which is the best investment I personally think you could make. I try to pay attention to now, whereas that saying "youth is wasted on the young" makes a lot of sense to me, because a lot of the stuff that I know today I did not know in my teens and 20s, and started to hear about a little bit more in my 30s, but really until my late 30s is where things started to really become important to me, where I was like, "Oh man, I should really pay attention to this stuff." And that's where I'm at. You know, like, I've been really trying my best to focus on strategies and recipes, if you will, of success. And I liked what that guy said. I linked a video the other day, the last video, about, his name was Todd, I think it's Matthews. I've never seen him before. But, there's a lot of people out there that offer input and advice. I'm not offering advice. I'm just offering, what I'm doing. I'm just sharing, whether I fail or succeed, I'm sharing the things that I've learned and things I've done that have worked out for me and things that haven't, in hopes that it will motivate you and shed some light on some things that maybe you haven't considered before. So I was listening to the guy, and he was talking about a recipe that you got to follow. I thought it was a good analogy, where he said, "Hey, if I was baking a cake and I was using, I think he said cake, I was using flour, the recipe called for flour, and I use sand, then I can't really deviate from the ingredients that you need to follow the recipe." And I used to be in that hotel and restaurant business type, when I was younger. And so I'm very, in fact, I was a baker for a period of time in my early 20s. And every morning I used to have to get up really early and follow the instructions to bake breads and cornbread and things for the day. And I had to follow the recipes. And if I did, the temperatures, the ingredients, the mixing time, the time in the oven, all those things, then usually I got a good product, right? So when he says, "Hey, these are the things that my clients," and I deal with high net worth, customers, people that he does tax returns for, like he's a tax attorney, and he deals with ultra wealthy people. I have a friend of mine who deals with ultra wealthy people. His specific target is for people that are minimum worth $10 million or more. Minimum is 10 million, or he won't talk to you. And he helps them, their families, to have generational wealth, so they never lose the money. So these are all things that I never considered younger, because it was not a problem my family had to even think about, because we didn't have that way of thinking about how do you save money, where do you put it, what's the right investment, what's a dividend. Just this last video, the guy was talking about aristocrat dividends and king dividends, something. I never heard that before. I know what dividends are. I know what that is. And, you know, it's basically interest on your money you invest, and it's not a lot. You have to have quite a bit of money for it to really be worth doing it, in my opinion. But I'm not at that level. You know? So I think that as I do things, these are all these different things as probabilities that I consider as I try to like navigate through the current market. And I think about my kids, and if I ever have grandkids, and if I'm even alive or not alive, I'm trying to urgently share this stuff, because it's like someone who is if you're a Christian, people will constantly preach their faith, the good news, right? And I don't mean that mockingly, because I am a Christian, and I've always been afraid to kind of talk about that sometimes. I'm like, I'm not good enough, but I'm never going to be good enough. But that's not what this is about. This is just about, I feel like Tesla is one of the companies that, regardless if it drops or goes up, is a good company to invest in. That's one of the companies I'm trading right now. Not day trading, but swing trading. What I keep doing is I own, say, 100 shares. You know, if you're 200, 300, whatever amount of shares are, if you can sell one contract, that guy, Todd, as well as many others that are very successful, talk about the strategy about selling covered calls or selling puts so that you collect a premium. I mean, they must know something that I don't or didn't know so years ago. And I'm like, wow, if those guys are saying it, I must be on the right path, because it seems to be working really well for me. And I've done iron condors and butterflies and put credit debit spreads and all these different things. But for me, just regular calls, short, calls and puts and calls. And I've had some success and failures. I'm not an expert at that stuff. But the covered calls of shares I already own has worked out really well for me. So right now I've been trading Tesla with 100 shares, for example, and I'll sell a covered call a week, a month, or a year out, for example. And regardless of what that premium is, if it keeps dropping and it goes below what I paid, I can buy it back and I can make $200 to $500 per transaction. That's what's been working out for me. So I do that with a lot of different companies, but that's something where I don't care if I lose the shares or not, but certainly I could jump in and jump out because I own the shares anyway. If anything, I will sometimes take those premiums and I'll add more shares, or I'll trade other companies. But the goal is to kind of like bolster the net balance of the account so you can just keep the money working, so that's kind of what I've been looking at. So that's all I'm really doing today. Tesla seems to be way up. I was almost at 230, last time I checked. So it was down to 198, so quite a bit of a rally. I don't know how long that will last. I am thinking it's going to, drop back down. But that's all I really got going on today, guys. So I just wanted to share that, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.